As the mayor of the city of New York, I don't, weigh into immigration issues, border issues. I have to provide services for families that are here, and that's what we're going to do. And that's what our responsibility as a city. I'm proud that this is a right to shelter state. This is a right to shelter state. This is a right to shelter state, and we're going to continue to do that.
Over the last year and a half, I've stressed the importance of participating in local politics, and not simply participating, but organizing accordingly in order to take over your local government. It is significantly easier to take over city official seats than it is to take over national seats. That's a fact. And what you have to understand at this point is this: if you fail to do this, your city is going to be the next New York City. And also understand that you have a very short amount of time to accomplish this. You have until 2030 to be exact. And if you want to understand why I say Black Americans have until 2030 to get it together, I strongly suggest you go back and watch my live stream from last year titled "The Truth Behind Why Black America Will Be Politically Finished by 2030. And now that I think about it, depending on when I upload this current video that you're listening to now, I'll re-upload that live stream the next day. Now, typically for me, re-uploads tend to not perform well. So when I do re-release it, even if you don't watch it because you might have seen it already, please at least make it a point to hit the like button on that video and to share it on your social media pages so it can gain some traction. But I strongly suggest you rewatch that live stream as a refresher, because in short, by 2030, in between the mass influx of undocumented migrants crossing the border, alongside Biden and the Democrats' plan to give citizenship to all 22 million undocumented migrants, after 2030, you can forget about local politics, because at that point, you will have already been ran out of your own cities as far as population count is concerned. And this is exactly what's happening in New York City. It's very important for you to pay attention to the fact that so far in New York, Mayor Eric Adams and Governor Holcomb are providing other groups with the necessary funding to withstand and survive the oncoming flood of undocumented migrants. Since November of last year, they've delivered up to $40 million exclusively to the AAPI community. They also delivered $25 million exclusively to the LGBTQ community. And for Black Americans, well, you get a hip-hop history museum in the South Bronx, which is being heavily gentrified, by the way. And I want to thank those who corrected me in my last video on that subject, because I made the mistake of saying that the South Bronx neighborhood of Concourse wasn't being gentrified. But my New York supporters corrected me on that. The South Bronx is definitely being gentrified. But at least Black New Yorkers will get a hip-hop museum, right? Meanwhile, Mayor Eric Adams is possibly planning to spend over $300 million a year, $312 million to be exact, on housing undocumented migrants in luxury hotels across the city. Now let's get into this article. The Big Apple could be on the hook for more than $300 million per year to provide shelter space in hotels for newly arrived migrants, a Post analyst shows. City officials have either rented or announced plans to secure roughly 5,800 hotel rooms over the last month in response to the influx from the southern border, which quickly overwhelmed the already strained homeless shelter system. One of the largest operations is planned for the Row NYC Hotel on 8th Avenue in Midtown, where officials are looking to rent as many as 600 rooms and provide intake and other services for recent arrivals. Now let's make a quick pivot to this article here titled "NYC Moving Migrants into Famed Luxury Times Square Hotel," so we can get a better look at the luxurious living conditions that these migrants will be entering into. A luxury Manhattan hotel, once touted as the lullaby of Broadway, will soon be providing Betty-Bye to hundreds of asylum-seeking migrants, the Post has learned. Mayor Eric Adams plans to convert the Row NYC, formerly known as the Milford Plaza and located in the pricey tourist-packed Times Square, into an intake center and shelter for as many as 600 migrant families amid the city's spiraling homeless crisis, three sources familiar with the matter said. At the stately row NYC on 8th Avenue between West 44th and West 45th Street, guests are greeted by a scene similar to those at red carpet events, with a carpeted section of sidewalks at its entrance and stone steps inlaid with decorative lights. A vinyl banner at the top of the stairs features the hotel's logo, adding the perfect setting for tourists and guests to snap selfies and other photos. The Internet Lounge in the lobby offers 6 sleek iMac computers that provide 30 minutes of free web surfing. There also is a third-floor fitness center with treadmills, elliptical machines, recumbent bicycles, and free weights. Even standard rooms boast understated city chic decor, including graphic wall coverings and bold colors, as well as high-speed Wi-Fi and 32-inch flat-screen LCD TVs with cable programming, according to the hotel's website. Wow, talk about moving on up, right? They went from the slums straight to the penthouse. Now let's get back into the original article that we started on. Officials said Monday that they were evaluating 4 proposals to run the site. Records show that the role was previously used by city officials to provide shelter as part of the $139 million contract the Department of Homeless Services inked in January of 2021, in which City Hall shelled out an average of $147.67 per day in rent. Assuming the DHS has secured a similar rate this time around, providing the 5,800 hotel rooms could add up to an unexpected $312.6 million in new spending to the city budget, and that's before tallying other costs like providing food and medical care. Now here's the important part. Providing these services will clearly be a significant cost that will require city officials to either shift funding from other programs or identify savings, said Anna Champney, the top researcher at the Citizens Budget Commission. So you're telling me that in order to provide these undocumented migrants with a high standard of living in luxurious hotels, they're going to have to cut spending and suspend programs that were designed to assist and help actual citizens of this country and legal residents of New York? Sounds like vote blue no matter who logic to me. Officials estimated Monday that more than 6,000 migrants from the southern border have arrived in New York City since the surge began in May, and said the number had jumped by as many as 2,000 in just the last few weeks. The estimated number of migrants in the Big Apple only covers those who've entered the city's shelter system, with city officials warning the number could be higher. I think I need to read that one more time. The estimated number of migrants in the Big Apple only covers those who've entered the city's shelter system, with city officials warning the number could be higher. I can't even begin to imagine what the actual number of undocumented migrants in New York actually is. And the crazy part is this: that number is going to keep going up. The post-analysis comes as City Hall has repeatedly refused to provide a projection for how much it may cost to house and provide services to recent arrivals. Now, I find it very interesting that City Hall is refusing to give a projected estimate on how much everything will cost in total annually. Because remember, that $312 million figure only considers the cost of shelter. They're not factoring in food and other services, especially medical costs. So at minimum, we're at least talking about $400 million annually. And that's at minimum. Look at all of this money getting tossed around to exclusively help other groups. Meanwhile, the black community receives nothing. Well, I take that back. You did get a hip-hop history museum, but essentially, you got nothing. Now, though my gut tells me realistically New York City is already lost, I still strongly implore black New Yorkers to demand what's rightfully yours and organize accordingly in order to take back at least a few seats in your local governing body so that you will be somewhat properly represented and have the means to filibuster nonsense like what we're currently witnessing happening in New York. And oh yeah, support one another. Support each other's businesses. We're always talking about how we have to build our own, when in reality there is already a lot of our own that exists. We just don't support it. Make it a point to support your own. And with all that being said, that does it for today's video. So please make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you'll be notified whenever I release a new video. All social media links will be pinned in the comment section below. please make sure you text tdhiphop to number 33222. That's tdhiphop to number 33222. That way you'll get a direct text notification whenever I release a new video, but it also serves as a protection plan for myself in case YouTube ever gives this channel the axe. I'll be able to send you a direct link to where you can find me next. And last but not least, for those of you who have a love and appreciation for the work that I put in on this channel, the number one way you can show your support is through Patreon. For only $3 a month, that will help put me in position to take TD Hip Hop Media off of YouTube. Remember, the goal is not to grow big on YouTube, but to grow independent of YouTube. And for those who have issues with joining Patreon, you could also hit the join button that's next to the subscribe button, and that way you can become an official channel member for as little as $3 a month as well. And lastly, if you have not already, please make sure you join the emailing list. There is no way that I can go independent of YouTube if I cannot take the audience with me. And the link to that will be pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you for your time, and until the next video, peace.